Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Spinning Plates. First up today we have AITA for feeling like my job is imposing on my personal time. So, I've been working at my spot for 6 years at this point. The first year and some change I was just prep and dish, then moved up to the line. And then about 3 years ago I was promoted to key holder, which is supervisor without the pay. And then finally to manager about 6 months after that. During that period of being in a management role, I've worked with 3 GMs who have run our store. The first of which lasted all the way from 2.5 years ago to April of this year when she moved on to greener pastures. We then had an extremely terrible GM from April to July who was just really mismanaged everything and screwed up wildly. When the second GM left in July, we then had one of the employees at the store promoted into the GM role, and she's been there since July. The entire time that I've worked with this company, I had a set schedule because I have autism, and having a set routine really helps me stay grounded and work more effectively and efficiently. I work double clopens every Saturday and Sunday, and then work only in the evenings throughout the week. Within the past month or so, our new GM has made it a point to really hammer into me how much I'm needed on other times of the week, and she will often call me during my time off and expects me to answer, just in case there is an emergency at the store or she needs me to cover. I've tried not answering any calls or texts I receive, but then whenever I do come into work, I'm chastised for it. They pay you for a certain amount of your time. They are not entitled to your off time. No job is. I have lots of trouble with this because now it's gotten to the point where I feel as though my personal life and the things I do during my time off are being criticized, since my co-workers are deeming them to not be important. Well, they're not important to them, because they suck, but they are important to you. When I protest about the constant calls and texts, I'm told that this behavior is normal at all other restaurants for anyone who has any type of managerial responsibility, and that I was just babied and coddled for far too long by the last 2 GMs of the store. I do really hate that it's come to this, but I feel like this is just making me feel burnt out and not able to adequately perform my duties at work to the full ability I usually do, which also causes lots of problems. Suffice to say, I've already mentioned giving up the position to her, but she has told me that it would make me a bad person to do so before she's able to find a replacement. But the simple fact of the matter is that I cannot work these hours that she is wanting me to do, and I feel stuck until I hear back from the other job I applied to. Well, I certainly hope you get it, and it wouldn't make you a bad person. It makes her a bad person for forcing you into the situation where you think you have to give it up. A job you were doing just fine until she came along. If she's the thing that changed here, and not you, she's the problem. I feel like I'm being emotionally manipulated because you are, just because we've worked with each other for a long time before she was promoted to GM, and she's trying to guilt-trip me into working more. Granted, she does work a lot of hours, her choice, but no matter how much I explain it to her, she doesn't seem to understand that I value my personal life and mental health much more than this job. You may not be aware of this, but if you're currently seeing a therapist, you should be able to get a letter of accommodations, right? Most workplaces, I'm assuming you're in the US, just from the way that was written, I could be wrong, I do apologize, but if you are in the US, they are legally required to make certain allowances, reasonable accommodations it's called, for people who have conditions like autism and so on. And right now they're not. So if you get that letter, present it to them, they are legally obligated to take that into account, and they could get into trouble for not doing so. They obviously know about your autism. It doesn't sound like it would be a new thing to them. The fact that you have to go to the lens of getting this letter, which you really should, you should have it, is kind of egregious on their part, but keep yourself in good stead. I hope the other job works out for you, and that you can leave these idiots in the dust, because if you do go, They drove you to it. Alright, story number 2 is accidentally became essential to labor. Now I won't be becoming a bartender after a year of grinding by Inside Current 4576. Honestly, I'm just exhausted. I, 22 female, have been working on the same chain restaurant since I was 19. The first thing I was asked from old management was what I saw myself becoming in the company, and the answer has always been the same thing: a bartender. I started as a host, then busser, then our one and only food runner, then expo, and finally two goes. I slowly but surely got promoted through the ranks of front of house 2 to 4 months at a time. I even did so well on to goes I skyrocketed our surveys from being 48% satisfied to 87% satisfied within 2 months. I single-handedly led our location to be number 1 regionally, and number 13 from the overall company. Oh, I think those numbers are about to plummet. I was promoted to server in March of this year, and it started off as 2 shifts a week, but I worked my butt off and grabbed every shift I could until finally my schedule was 5 days a week. I am now the main server for nighttime, and I always offer to do doubles and close. I am a certified learning coach at my work, and I have trained in the last 2 months alone over 6 new servers. I have the most Google reviews out of any employee from my chain restaurant's history. I have worked 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week for the last 4 months to try and help my restaurant out. All that I've ever asked is for more bar training. I have had 1 bartender training shift in July, and everyone on staff said I was doing amazing and better than anyone else. I really love this job, but I don't know how to deal with being unappreciated. I have put the shop in front of everything else in my life, and I think it's time to finally put myself first. Hell, I want to start putting myself back out there and dating again, but I feel like I don't even have time to do that. Is mixology something that looks good on resumes? Yeah, well, the first thing you need to start doing is prioritizing yourself. Why would you prioritize your job over yourself? Your physical health, your mental health are both going to suffer in the long term if you don't. This job isn't going to give you what you need. You might find there are places out there you can get into that will see the work you do, appreciate the work you do, and want to put you into new and higher positions. This is not the place for that. They just see someone they can take advantage of, they can use, and when you quit, they'll have forgotten your name by the following week. So, if you have an exit plan, mixology course for example, do that. That's your option. And when you can leave, I'd go. I wouldn't even give notice unless you're absolutely required to by law or contract. If you're not, just go. Right, third story today is if you're part of a big party, please remember what you ordered by Watergun Acid. This is just something that's really annoying me lately. Just a couple of things before I start this Vendish post. First of all, I work at a restaurant that is affiliated with a sports center, so we get big parties in the form of sports teams on weekends. Usually a big party here ranges anywhere from 12 to 30 people, though tables more than that pop up from time to time. Even though I'm often feeling tired after weekend shifts, the people working are great, management is amazing, but sometimes the customers get under my skin to a degree that's honestly quite infuriating. People are going to people, they have a way of doing that. The last 3 weeks has been something to behold when it comes to these big tables. Some notable incidents. One big party of 26, not only did they spread out and take up 3 of our biggest tables, sitting 4 people at one of them, which could have fit 15 if they just took the 4 top next to it, they also made passing out the food difficult because nobody remembered what they ordered. At one point I had to go to all 3 tables with a medium cheeseburger with no tomato and no cheese. Yes. And when I got to the table all the kids were crammed at, they all yelled and laughed at me saying, and I quote, "What idiot gets a cheeseburger with no cheese?" Well, they're obnoxious, but they do have a point. Mind you, these kids were at least 15 years old. The parents then started crowding me to get their kids. I had a line full of food that needed to go to other tables during lunch rush. It was overwhelming, to say the least. Last week, we had another large party of 24. Nobody claimed their food. It took 4 times as long as it should have to get the food to the right person, and 10 minutes later we got complaints from the table that they were missing a plate of chicken tenders. Have they tried looking up their buttholes? 5 minutes after that, the server came in and told us somebody was switching around plates and nobody at that table had the right food. The plate of chicken tenders, which had been delivered to the first tables, was taken by some kid at the second table. We know, we counted. My last shift was a nightmare in itself. I was doing all 4 previously listed jobs at once, because we had no host and we only had 2 servers until 2 p.m. I didn't have time to breathe, considering it was Saturday, which is when most big games happen in the sports center. And I had one request for the day. Please let me go home on time. That day specifically, because I had my brother and sister-in-law visiting and they were severely jet-lagged. Especially because they had my niece and nephew with them who go to bed early anyways, under even regular circumstances. Not only did I end up clocking out nearly an hour later than I was scheduled, I was surprised with the request to train the new guy in the last hour of my actual shift. Well, then say no. Luckily, the evening host was there by then, but I'm not afraid to say I had quite the breakdown in the car on the way home. The customers were particularly annoyed that day too. Well, screw them, who cares what they think? Because service was slow, and for big parties, lo and behold, most people didn't claim their food. To the one party of 12 that did know what they ordered, thank you for working with me. But that was one party out of several. That last paragraph was more of a personal off-topic rant. It felt very on-topic to me. We get big parties all the time, but PSA to anybody listening to this who might be part of a big party, please work with us and remember what you order. Sometimes runners don't have servers to help them, let alone notes on what dish goes where. If you order a grilled cheese, don't say you ordered chicken tenders. I'm not saying memorize everybody's orders at the table, but if I call out your food, maybe raise your hand or something. It helps a ton, especially when we have a full restaurant. People. Okay. Story number 4 is Shady Job. Should I even go in today or just quit? By Suicide Pimpin' Shiza. I'm a server and a bartender with 5 years' experience. I moved to a new city. Itchy nose. I moved to a new city 2 weeks ago and don't have rent because I'm living with family. I started this job a week ago and need advice on how to go about the situation. Please read the following bullets. No overtime pay. Obviously illegal. Illegal and insane tip-out, 20% to bussers and bar, but still 15% tip-out when they're not even here. I know, the owner is getting it. I'm not dumb. No Sundays off, ever. Sexual harassment by middle manager, general culture of unprofessionalism and sexual harassment among most of the men. Coming in at 5 days a week at a server wage and not getting tables for 3 hours, then scolded for sitting down and made to start cleaning, aka wage theft. No cuts ever, as a rule. Disorganized management, i.e. I had to do double side work because the manager refused to take care of their own mistake. Who can play that game? I was given money, but I tried to address that I didn't feel right about this. Schedule doubles on a regular basis. No thank you. Being watched on cameras 24/7. Yeah, what are these freaks doing? Or what are they not doing, rather, when they're watching the workers on cameras? You don't need to be sitting there your entire shift watching people on cameras. Most of the employees I work with are there 24/7, and none of them like it, and they all can't take care of themselves because of expectations. I haven't been able to train for my sport, which is what I asked to be the only stipulation in scheduling. Also, we have to pay for our own parking because it's downtown. Pfft. I've been here 1 week. I have an interview at a high-volume breakfast place tomorrow morning, but I'm scheduled here at 3 tonight. Should I even go in or frickin' quit? Quit! If you can afford to do it, absolutely. That's if you're thinking of quitting and you'll be financially okay in the meantime, yeah, quit. I'm confident I'll be hired at the other place, but you never know. I'll hope you were. By the time you hear this, I hope you're working there. However, side work is insanely easy. Love working with cool girls. Money is decent, but not good enough money to put up with the rest of that crap. Making minimum wage on a weeknight shift also seems to be the average. Weekends are very busy and expensive, so we regularly make $200 to $500 on a weekend night. That's nice. Is it really worth it for the sexual harassment? To make it remotely worth it for me, Sunday to Monday, off consistently, come in at 5 on weekdays, 3 on weekends, no scheduled doubles. I still want to work them, but they absolutely cannot be an expectation. I feel this is extremely reasonable even in normal circumstances, but even then, it's probably not worth it. Nope, run. Run for the hills. I hope you get the new job. Alright, this story is by GR. I recently quit my company. It wasn't really a big one, around mid-sized. It heavily marketed itself as a pet-friendly restaurant, so you can bring your furry friend while you dine in. The company is owned by a young guy, same age as me. Let's call him Cal. Technically his dad bought it for him, so Cal just ran it. But the way he ran it, he is running it to the ground. Won't be surprised if it goes bankrupt soon. Why, you ask? I'll tell you. He lets the head chef run the show mostly, and there is one particular chef below him. Let's call him Vidge. When I first met Vidge, I thought he was a cool guy that we could get along. Boy, how wrong was I. Initially, he came across as cool and calm. As time went on, the cracks started to show. One day, the junior chef, jokingly sounding like a Karen, demanded a glass of tea. Vidge happened to be there, and in 2 seconds he yelled at the top of his lungs, "Huh? What you want? Did you ask him nicely or not?" Pointing to me. I, wanting to cover his embarrassment, said, "Yeah, he did ask." Then Vidge walked away. Another instance was when an order came in early in the morning. About 10 minutes before the actual time the kitchen starts operating, one of the other chefs asked if we should cook it. I just told them to wait. Bear in mind there was an event going on, people were having a presentation. When one of the part-timers went to grab the spaghetti, Vidge yelled. Loud enough for everyone to hear. Basically, framing her and saying how y'all not know what time the kitchen operates. When I literally told the other chef to do it later. Clearly, Vidge was power-tripping. The other guy below Vidge, let's call him Lance. He is a lazy prick who would sit all day doing nothing. He and I clearly do not get along for some reason. He's one of the worst chefs I've ever met. The food that he cooks is so bad that it makes prison food look like Michelin-rated food. And the worst part is, he doesn't eat it. He cooks something nice for himself whilst everyone else eats slop. Okay, so he knows what he's doing, he just doesn't care. A selfish and lazy degenerate. He and Vidge were plotting to get rid of me. When the time came, a new outlet was opened, and they told the HR to send me over. Clearly they didn't want me there. I can't stand them either, but I was glad to be away from them. Couldn't get any worse, right? Wrong. I was forced to be under the wing of a middle-aged woman named Regine. She isn't a bad person, but she's one of the most rigid and stupid managers I've ever served under. She clearly doesn't bend the rules at all. Deathly loyal to the boss, and will shift the blame to other people when it was clearly her fault. She sounds like a bad person, but okay. Example, we have an outdoor section that isn't covered. And when it rains, we have to bring in the tent cards from the table. How Regine does it when it rains is she'll take it in, then when it stops she'll clear the table and put it back. Then it rains 5 minutes later, rinse and repeat. we weren't allowed to take any soda or coffee, which doesn't really cost anything, but according to her, drinking soda is the same as stealing money from the company. Women, you ain't paying for this, so what's wrong with us drinking a little soda? Another thing is that we have QR codes on the table for ordering. Our paperback menus are heavily outdated, and a lot of things aren't in it. Regine loves to give paperback menus to everyone. I don't understand why. Once a customer was berating me because the dish came with salad stated in the paperback menu. I kindly explained to them, but the customer was insistent. So I went to the head chef, she happened to be there, and I asked if we should give the missing ingredient. She in her dumb glory said, "You should know better, you're a supervisor, you shouldn't be asking these sort of things." To say I was furious was an understatement. So I have to clean up the mess you made, Regine? What kind of manager are you? If you ever came across this story, I just want you to know that you're a lousy manager, but we changed your name so you wouldn't know. She was working with Vidge a while back, for almost a decade. Vidge was power-tripping and clearly lording it over her. She didn't dare fight back, clearly spineless and hopeless, only caring for herself and not those under her. A lousy manager through and through. I was glad when she left, because the boss didn't grant her some convenience when some family emergency came up. That's when she realized her loyalty was all for nothing, and she quit. It's nice when they realize that, isn't it? Then another new manager came and went in less than a month. There was a power vacuum in another outlet as well, because it was newly opened and had no manager. In comes Murray. Murray is from India, one of the most, if not the worst managers I've ever seen. All he ever does is suck up to the boss, does no real work. So far up the boss's butt it would take 100 light years for him to come up for air. He loves sucking up to the boss. Whenever he has a day off, he'll come to the restaurant just to talk to the boss and do some nonsensical work, like looking at the computer screen all day. Oh yeah, I had one of those in the last place I worked. If he isn't pretending, he'll just hide in one of the rooms to play games. At one point in time, he was sent to help other outlets because of the lack of manpower. He and all his 56 points of IQ thought that, since he was there, he's taking care of the outlet. So in comes Murray, thinking he's running the place now. All the other outlets had no managers. He placed his foot in and started giving orders. No clue where he got the idea that he was in charge. Basically, all he does is come to the restaurant, sit all day, make phone calls as if he's very busy, when in reality he's messing up the flow of the restaurant. The restaurant uses an app, where if there isn't enough workers, they'll hire them from the app for a set amount per hour. What Murray likes to do is disrupt other outlets' part-time hiring from the app. Our outlet had a supervisor who would do the app hiring. He'll set the amount at $12 per hour. People who wish to work that day can just pick up the slot. What Murray likes to do is open another slot at $10, and if anyone picks up that slot, he'll cancel the one with 12. All just to save a few bucks and make it look like he's doing good for the boss. Murray wasn't very fond of me because I clearly rebelled against him. Once he tried to send me back to the very outlet which I was forced out from, all in pretense of distribution of manpower among other outlets. And of course, to make himself look good, I protested, threatened to call HR saying I would quit, making him look bad in front of the boss because he initially thought I would go without protest. The thought of working with Vidge and the other one causes me to have PTSD. I wouldn't have peaceful days if I ever return. Thank God the HR had some sense and didn't let me go. From there on, Murray wasn't pleased with me and tried many ways to get back at me. Like trying to call me back to work during my days off. What is it with these losers when they try to do that? And saying he'll replace the day off because someone called in sick. That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Oh, bill them for the phone call because those are work hours. I'm like, hell no, you can go suffer yourself for all I care. The day came when Murray finally got me, is when I was sitting on the empty beer keg. He took a photo of the keg and sent it to the boss. Boss made some fuss and that was that. I wasn't chewed out, but the supervisor told me not to do it again. Supervisor even told me that Murray threatened my job, saying the company could hire 2 more people at my salary range. And yet for some reason they hadn't. Dude was a real douchebag. No, douchebags are useful. He thought he was untouchable because he's on the boss's good books. Oh, how wrong he was. Karma was about to come and bitch slap him so hard he'd be wearing his butt cheeks as a face. During Valentine's Day, the place was packed where Murray worked. He also had the authority to hire part-timers from the app. Initially, he set the price at $11, no takers. Then he raised it to $12, still no bites. As the days got closer, he got more desperate and kept increasing the price by $1. Until the day before the price was at $16 an hour, and he hired around 16 of the part-timers to work on the day. The day came and went. Boss found out that he hired 16 part-timers at $16 an hour. The boss chewed him out because of the day's profit in that outlet went to paying the part-timers. He still thought he did a good job. Time came when all those in charge had a meeting. First thing on the agenda was the appointment of a new operations manager. Murray was so sure he would get the position that his nose was so high he couldn't see anything else. When the announcement came, it was the head chef who was appointed operations manager. Murray went silent, not saying another word throughout the entire meeting. Usually he has 100 opinions, but today he just kept quiet. Then he went to meet the boss's dad, who happens to be the one funding his son's business. Not sure what was being discussed, but I heard through the grapevine the old man chewed Murray out for wasting money and causing turmoil wherever he set foot. From then on, he was confined to his outlet. He should have been fired, and he can't go to other places like he used to. I say good riddance. Next up comes the boss. The boss is a young man, same age as me, but younger by a few months. Basically a boy born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Never had to worry about money, because Daddy already set him up for life. Studied at an Ivy League university in the UK. He's smart but lacks the emotional intelligence. If there was a cult, he would probably be in it. We're kind of particular about who we take here. The problem with him is that he doesn't like to take feedback from his staff. Any feedback is met with harsh backlash. He only likes to hear what he wants to hear, not what he needs to hear. You see where I'm going? Many times he came over to the restaurant and saw the rival competitors had more customers. He would get upset, and he would start bitching at us. Once he came with his date to eat at the restaurant with a group of friends. Oh, big spender. His friends took a look at the bill and didn't want to pay, basically taking advantage of him because he's the boss, and let him settle the bill. The boss got irritated, but he didn't show it in front of his date. He saved it for us later. He came back later to the restaurant and saw that we were closing up with the doors almost locked. Mind you, it's 30 minutes to closing. The kitchen was closed, the bar was closed too, which is normal for that time in restaurants. He was upset the competitors were at full capacity, full of people, while ours was empty and dark. Boss started bitching, taking out his rich man's anger on us for the dinner fiasco. This is when I felt that this company was going downhill, and I did not want to be part of a sinking ship with so many toxic people, so I actively started job hunting. Another time he came over to me with the same issue, asking me why do they have more customers and we don't. Well, boss, they have a television to showcase some football games, we don't, and they have a slightly different menu from us. I told him that they have these things and he didn't want to hear it. That shouldn't be the case. You gotta think harder. Well, I don't know, boss. Maybe because your food is overpriced and you got nothing that stands out from the rest. Your decorations look like crap and a messy jungle, full of mosquitoes and really dark. And also you don't take care of your staff. You only like to shift the blame to us. You barely give us any benefits, it's laughable. During Chinese New Year, every company that I worked for, the bosses would give us a red packet. The red packets given by Chinese are a symbol of luck and prosperity. For our boss, he's a strange one. If he doesn't see you during the day of the red packet distribution, you won't get anything. If anyone should quit the company, they will be treated like an outcast, because he believes his company is the best in the world. I've met people on meth that make more sense than him. He basically has zero empathy. His emotions are only angry or happy. It's amazing how the people that have so much wealth are so miserable. I mean, they say money can't buy you happiness. I've never believed that. But I think people that were raised with nothing but money should do without it for a little bit so they appreciate it more. He once fired staff. The guy was working with another guy who closed the restaurant early. He had nothing to do with the early closure and got fired. Worst thing is, the wife was due in a week. No warning letters, nothing, just showed him the door straight away. I won't be surprised if he joins a cult one day, given his lack of empathy. He only likes workers who listen to him 100%, and only follows orders like a dog and doesn't give any feedback regardless if it would help the company. Basically, he hired a few other people after I left. The same kind like regime that will listen to him 100% like a loyal dog. Honestly, working there was like walking on eggshells. You never know when you'll get fired. I'm glad to be out of there and in a new place. My stress and anguish has reduced. All the toxic co-workers in that company. You'll get what's coming to you sooner or later. Probably fired. And to the boss, learn how to take care of your workers. Treat them well and they'll make you more money. If not, you'll just wait for your business to crumble. And I secretly hope it does, and that's it. It is shocking how many bosses just don't get that if your staff is miserable because of miserable working conditions, sales are going to go down. I worked in a place like that. Sales kept going down because the staff was miserable. Mostly because we had a regime who made everybody miserable. She was eventually fired, by the way. I later found her working in a Greg's one day, so I knew not to go in there too often. Not that I go into Greg's much anyway, although they do nice food. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by signing up for my Patreon page, which is linked down in the description. There's also links to my merchandise store on Teespring. Is that everything? Oh yes, there is other contact information as well, like email, Discord server and such. I think that's everything for now, so until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye bye.